It's official. Canada has slammed the brakes on lumber exports to the US, sending shockwaves through the construction industry. The people who brought us maple syrup and polite apologies are now keeping their wood at home. This isn't a minor hiccup, it's a commercial earthquake, and the aftershocks are hitting everyone from home builders to DIYers. Imagine waking up ready to build, only to find out the wood you need is suddenly scarce. On October 7, 2025, Canada announced a halt on most softwood lumber exports to the US, a loud public move that's left American importers scrambling and politicians finger-pointing. For anyone eyeing a new deck or home, brace yourself. Lumber prices are about to soar. This isn't just about big business, it's about the cost of putting a roof over your head. The so-called Great Wall of Wood is a direct challenge to the North American Economic Partnership we've relied on for decades. Now, Americans are left asking, where will we get our wood? The US and Canada's long-standing trade relationship is on the rocks, with Canada saying, it's not me, it's you and your tariffs. This is more than a news story. It's a real-world lesson in cause and effect, with consequences for your wallet and the future of North American cooperation. Let's break down how we got here and what it means for you. Why did Canada cut off its biggest customer? One word, tariffs. For years, the US has slapped hefty tariffs on Canadian softwood, claiming unfair subsidies. The latest tariff hike was the last straw. Canadian producers couldn't turn a profit, and the government called the tariffs illegal under international law. After years of failed negotiations and legal battles, Canada went nuclear halt exports, inflict economic pain, and force the US back to the table. It's a risky move. America is Canada's biggest lumber market, and this will hurt Canadian mills and jobs in the short term. But Canada is betting that by showing how dependent the US is on their lumber, they can finally end this decades-old dispute. It's a high-stakes game of economic chicken, with both sides barreling toward each other. At the heart of it, Canada says their public land system is just different, not unfair. The US calls it a government handout. This fundamental disagreement has fueled generations of tension. Now, instead of arguing, Canada's showing the US what life is like without their lumber. It's a bold strategy, and the entire continent is about to see if it works. The stakes, jobs, housing costs, and the future of cross-border trade. Both countries are feeling the pain, but neither wants to blink first. The outcome could reshape North American trade for years. This isn't a new fight. US and Canada have been at loggerheads over lumber for more than a century. The modern era of conflict began in the 1980s when the US accused Canada of unfair subsidies due to their public land system. This led to a cycle: media, slow-motion footage of timber being loaded onto trucks, a time-lapse of lumber being transported across the border, temporary softwood lumber agreements, followed by tariffs, lawsuits, and more negotiations. Each deal was a ceasefire, not a solution. When one expired, the fight resumed. The core issue: Canadian public forest with logging activity, private US timberland with logging trucks. Canada's government sets timber prices on public land, while US timber comes from private land and market prices. The US says Canada's system gives their mills an unfair edge. Canada says it's just a different approach. Decades of failed diplomacy and entrenched positions have brought us to this breaking point. This isn't a sudden move by Canada, it's the result of years of frustration. Powerful industry lobbies and political interests on both sides keep the dispute alive. The lumber war has outlasted leaders, trade deals, and court rulings. Now, the zombie dispute is back, threatening to tear down the house instead of just haunting the halls. The stakes are higher than ever, and the cycle shows no sign of ending. This is the backdrop for today's crisis. What's so special about softwood lumber? It's the backbone of residential construction, lightweight, strong, and perfect for framing houses. The US uses a ton of it, but can't produce enough domestically. About 30% comes from Canada. That means nearly 1 in 3 boards in an American home is Canadian. When Canada cuts off supply, there's no quick fix, no secret stash of lumber waiting in the wings. It's not just about quantity, but quality. Canadian spruce pine fir is prized for its strength and stability. Southern yellow pine from the US is different, heavier, stronger, but trickier to work with. Builders design projects around Canadian wood, and losing it is like asking a baker to make bread without flour. This isn't just an economic spat, it's about the essential building blocks of our homes. The softwood dispute affects housing prices, jobs, and the entire construction industry. The latest chapter could reshape how we build for years to come. In any trade war, there are winners and losers, and this one hits home. U.S. lumber producers benefit from tariffs, raising prices and profits. But the losers? American home builders, construction companies, and ultimately, home buyers. With supply down and prices up, building costs skyrocket, and those costs get passed to you. Tariffs have already added thousands to the price of a new home. A total halt will make that look minor. In Canada, mills and workers are hurting, especially in towns built around forestry. Layoffs and shutdowns loom with entire communities at risk. Some big Canadian companies with U.S. mills may benefit, but most workers and small businesses lose. The Canadian government hopes short-term pain leads to long-term gain, a stable, tariff-free future. But for now, ordinary workers and consumers on both sides are paying the price. The lines between winners and losers are blurry, but the pain is real. This is more than a trade dispute, it's a human story. The fallout is being felt in paychecks, home prices, and entire towns. Let's take a breather with some wood facts. The US-Canada border is the world's longest, over 5,500 miles, much of it forested. The main wood at the heart of this? Spruce pine fir, a boy band of trees harvested together for their combined strength and stability. Softwood versus hardwood isn't about hardness. Balsa is a soft hardwood. It's about tree type. Softwoods are from conifers, hardwoods from broadleaf trees. Softwoods build our homes. Hardwoods make our floors and furniture. A single Canadian sawmill can produce enough lumber to frame 10,000 houses a year. Multiply that by hundreds of mills, and you see why this isn't a trickle. It's a river of wood. Now, with Canada's blockade, that river's been dammed, and the pressure is on. This standoff will hit your wallet fast. Lumber is a key ingredient in new homes, so prices will spike, making homeownership even less affordable. Renovations, decks, and repairs, all more expensive. Contractors, lumberyards, truckers, and manufacturers will all feel the squeeze. Higher costs, fewer jobs, and possible layoffs. Even your local hardware store will struggle to keep shelves stocked. The Federal Reserve faces a headache. Higher lumber costs fuel inflation, which could mean higher interest rates and pricier mortgages. It's a vicious cycle. Houses cost more, loans cost more, and fewer people can buy. The construction industry, a major U.S. employer, could slow down, hurting everyone from carpenters to electricians. This isn't just a splinter, it's a structural threat to the economy. The ripple effects will be felt far beyond the lumberyard. We're all waiting to see how much the roof will sag. So, what's next? There are a few possible outcomes, none of them easy. Best case, the pain forces the U.S. to negotiate, leading to a new, stable agreement. Worst case, both sides dig in, prices stay high, and the standoff drags on. The U.S. might look for other lumber sources, but they're pricier and can't match Canada's volume. Legal battles will continue, but they're slow, and even when Canada wins, the U.S. often finds workarounds. The likely path? Messy negotiations, legal fights, and a scramble for alternatives. The key question: who blinks first? The U.S. housing market or Canadian lumber towns? The next few months will decide if we rebuild the bridge or face a long, costly split. The future of North American construction hangs in the balance. This story is complex, but it matters to your wallet, your home, and your community. We'll keep tracking the negotiations, prices, and the people most affected. A well-informed public is the best defense against bad policy. You deserve to know why your dream home costs more and what leaders are doing about it. We'll break down global trade, politics, and economics in a way that makes sense. Subscribe and stay tuned. Don't get lost in the woods. We'll be your guide through this ever-changing landscape. Thanks for watching.